What's up, fam? Once again, I want to thank you all for tuning in and watching the channel. Be sure to subscribe, share, like, and hit that notification bell. So every time I drop a video, you'll be the first one notified. Today, I want to bring a little history lesson. It's been 100 years since the Tulsa race massacre. And that's big news in the news right now. They've had hearings over the past week or so with some of the survivors, and the survivors tell the traumatic stories that they went through, how they remember what happened. And I guess these hearings are supposed to make us feel better about ourselves, about now that someone is actually, I guess, listening to our story. And so I'm not really sure what the outcome can be, because it's been 100 years. And as I stated in previous videos, what can you do for a person 100 years later that you should have done when it happened, or made sure that it didn't happen? Because trust me, Tulsa was not the only Aboriginal town in this country that was destroyed by some means by the powers that be. We call it white supremacists, the congressmen, the governors, the politicians, the business owners, whatever. Tulsa was not the only one. You have the famous Rosewood, made famous by John Singleton movie. You do your research at other towns in Florida, the Carolinas, all over Arkansas. And they had the Little River riots. I believe it was 1919. I'm not exactly sure. I had to look that up. But yeah, it happened back then. Should it's still happening now with where housing is going, and how there's been a story recently by a lady in, I believe, Indianapolis, whose house was appraised for like $100,000 more when she took all the black stuff out the house and had white people represent her as sellers. And the house got, appraised for, like I said, a lot more than what that it was appraised for when she tried to present the house herself. So it still goes on. Let's say we're getting better, but it's still got a long way to go. But anywho, back to the Tulsa riots. Like I said, that wasn't the only time, or the only time that white folks came in and destroyed black neighborhoods. And it wasn't always by violence. As a matter of fact, the story I want to bring to today has to do with a little town called Quakertown that was located in Denton, Texas. And this happened in 1921 also. What had happened was, Quakertown it was called Freedom Town, and it was established in 1875 by about 25 black families who moved out of the White Rock Lake area of Dallas and moved to Denton, which is, let's say, about an hour, a little less than an hour, not even that long, north of Dallas on Interstate 35. So anywho, they moved out there, started a little, community, and as normally black people, Aboriginal people learn to do, or show that they can do, is they created their own house, built their own houses out of the woods that was surrounded them, created schools, created restaurants, you had doctors, they built a church, an AME church out there. Next thing, they built a school, the Frederick Douglass School, which eventually was burnt down, or somehow burned down. And when it was rebuilt outside of the little town later on. It's like 1913. And it was rebuilt outside the town. But anyway, we'll get to that later. So, town was created, and had a lot of middle class families A lot of people had their own businesses, but if they didn't have their own businesses, or if they wasn't working inside of Freedman Town or Quakertown, as it was later called, to show homage, I guess, to the white people that helped, in the Underground Railroad at that time. Except they wasn't working inside the town. They worked for the white residents that was in Denton, or they worked for the universities, which were called the College of Industrial Arts, and I believe the North Texas regular college. So they worked as, small jobs like launderers, maids. If they worked for the school, they was most likely worked in the stables, or they were janitors. Well, there was the president of the College of Industrial Arts, and his name was Francis Marion Braley. And around 1914, he started a movement to get all the Aboriginal families that were in Quakertown, to get them moved away from his college, because they pretty much butted up against each other. And his reasoning for having the neighborhood moved, or the little town moved, was because he felt that the Aboriginal residents posed a threat or a danger to the young white women who went to his school. At the time, it was an all-women's school. Matter of fact, it's still an all-women's school, and it's now called the Texas Women's University. And the other university is now called University of North Texas. But anywho, he felt that the Aboriginal families or the residents pose a threat to the white girls that went to the college. And you know how history has always tried to show us as we just, had like sexual deviants or violent people or criminals. So he just took that belief and said that he was, needed to move all the Negroes away from the school. So what he did, he got a lot of help from local businesses, the Chamber of Commerce, local politicians, and created a bond program to try to build a park where Freedman Town or Quakertown was located. At the time, Denton didn't have any parks, but Dallas had, I think, like 9 parks, but didn't have any, so they're trying to build the town. So this is their excuse to get the black folks out of that, away from that area. So what they do, they create a bond package. He started this movement like 1914, and then 1920, November 1920, he presented it to the town. Presented the bond package to the town for a vote. At this time, women were just given the right to vote, and so the women's organization that was out there told them that if this bond would pass, they would get a brand new residence for the women's club. And again, women were just given the right to vote. White women just given the right to vote. So naturally, they were a strong presence in this voting process. They went door to door seeking votes. One of the big problems that the Aboriginal people faced was that we couldn't vote, either due to poll taxes or literacy exams. And as you know, a lot of the older people probably couldn't read or write because, these are like former slaves, son or children of slaves. So, they probably worked most of their life and couldn't get a formal education. But that's one of the reasons why they moved to this area, because there was a church. They built the church, built the school, and they moved to this area, try to move close to the church and school so their kids would be able to get the education, and they also be able to, go to church where at the time, the church was like the big place that the community gathered and congregated and, did things together as a family, as a neighbor, as a community. It's supposed to do like it should do now. So, anywho, the bond package was presented. All the Negro families, the community got wind of it. They would discuss it. They talked about it. Now, another one of the issues that came up, the problem was that you had people that opposed it, and everyone wanted to oppose it. But the problem is, a lot of these people worked for the white people in Denton. And so you got people that did not want to ruffle the relationship between them and the white people, because you go there and try to oppose this bond that all the white people want, it might cause friction. A lot of people afraid of losing their jobs. They probably were afraid of violence. The KKK was a big presence in Denton at the time. So I could kind of understand, I kind of empathize with where they're coming from, which goes to the point of, this is one reason why, again, you have to try to promote us either starting our own businesses, hiring our own people, or working for our own people, and trying to be completely self-sufficient. Because when you're working for other people, and it could be anyone. If you're working for other people, you're pretty much at the mercy of when to work, how to work, where to work, what to do, how much you get paid. And that's with anybody. It could be anyone that's, it could be us or them. But the thing is, when you're working for your own people, and other groups will show you this, you tend to look out for your own people more. You tend to give them more reasonable, reasonable doubt for anything. You try to let them pass, give them more chances to get it right. Whereas the other groups, well, as I see with other groups, shoot, they won't give you a chance at all. They're gonna put their people in place to thrive, and that's what we need to do, sure. So, anywho, the bond, the bond was passed. Like I said, without any kind of, very little, resistance from, like I said, the black people, except the ones who own their own businesses, and because there was a guy named Bill Will, brother, actually sued the city, because the city, once they passed the bond, they offered very little money. You call it eminent domain. Let's just call it what it is. That's what it's called now. But they don't offer you anything for your land. Maybe a few hundred here, maybe a few thousand, depends on what you have. But they weren't offering any kind of real value for the land. Nothing close to what it's worth. And so he sued the city eventually. But what happened is he had to drop the lawsuit because, again, threats on his neighbors, on his family, and like I said, the Ku Klux Klan were threatening people. So he eventually, dropped the lawsuit. And so, which you had a few families that moved actually out of the state. You had one doctor that moved back to California. You had one business owner that moved back to Indianapolis. You actually had a lot of people who tried to back to Libya movement, where it was going to take the money that the city was supposed to give them and move back to Africa, start a community there. But unfortunately, like I said, they didn't offer them a whole lot of money, so they didn't raise enough money to do the project. So the white people gave them, an ultimatum. You either, you can sell us your land, move out, and you can move wherever, find another house, or you can move to this small tract of land on the southeast side of town. I think it's called Sutton Hill. And that's where we'll set up your new community. A lot of people resisted, but again, in the end, that's where a lot of people end up moving. Now, to compare Sutton Hill to Quakertown, Sutton Hill, they said, had no electricity, no running water, no roads, and a lot of the houses were damaged in the move from one place to another. You even had houses that, like say, mysteriously burned down, once it was placed. So you go from living middle class to living like pretty much low class, below low class, and you got sewage, you got sewer system, and now you have where your sewage runs into the creek. Eventually it was built up. They created a better sewer system, but they say it still wasn't up to the part that it was when they lived in, right next to the school. So the point is, the neighborhood was destroyed. They took it from the Aboriginal people, created a park that they felt was more important in that area than a neighborhood full of black people. Matter of fact, when the black people were told they had to move, and they tried to buy houses near white people, these people put up signs telling them that you're not welcome in our neighborhood. Go find somewhere else to live. And that's why they ended up moving to the southeast side of town, literally the other side of the tracks. So my point is to the story, but in conclusion, is, like I said, this still goes on today. We still feel the ramifications of this stuff, and we still cannot get reparations seriously looked at, talked about, and dealt with and given by Congress. If they got money for, like I say, LGBT, they come up with money for Asian anti-hate bill. They come out with these stimulus checks just out of nowhere, and you kind of wonder like where they get this money from. I thought we was like trillions and trillions of dollars in debt, and all of a sudden you're breaking out this money, this millions and billions of dollars, and you handing them out to everybody, and it's like, what's going on? Where are the reparations for the Aboriginal people that you pretty much, uprooted and destroyed their lives, and continue to keep the majority of us in these conditions, continue to make it hard for a lot of us to come up. Now, understand this. I do believe we all have the opportunity to do better for ourselves. Every last one of us, because we all have access to the internet one way or another. I mean, everybody has a cell phone. If you don't have access to the internet, you can go to a library for free. You can catch a bus to a library. Yes, it may be out of the way. It may be a hindrance. It may take some work. It will take some work to get to where you need to be, to get to where we need to be as a community. But the key thing is you have to put in the work. The work has to be put in. You can't be waiting on handouts. Got to stop waiting on handouts for the government. Got to stop, allowing the government to give us money, give us just enough money. Because see, I remember watching the old Don King movie by Don King, and one thing that he knew is he can sign a contract for $10 million for a fighter, to give a fighter $10 million. By the time the fight is over with, the fighter hasn't seen a dime, may have seen a few $100,000. He'll give him a little money here, a little money there, a little money there. But what he knew is if he could come to the fighter with a briefcase full of money, the fighter's broke, come with him with a briefcase full of money and say, hey, I will give you this money if you sign this contract and say that the old contract is void. And a lot of times those fighters will sign that contract for the simple fact is they have nothing at the time. I've heard stories of musicians, like even Snoop Dogg, the rapper, said the same thing about when he was going through his issues with Death Row. And he would sign, people wanted him to be on the verse, and he would take anything, $2,500 to be on the verse. Now we're talking about Snoop Dogg, who sold millions and tens of millions of records by this time. And he's, ain't got, he said he got very little money. He needed money, ain't making no money. He'll do a verse for $2,500, $25,000, whatever the case may be. But he had to learn once he got with No Limit. And he said Master P taught him how to do business and how to make money, where the money was at. His life changed. But it's like, you have to know where the opportunity, you got to create opportunities for yourself in order to thrive. And if you don't do it, we're going to always be people look down upon. We need to create our own money. We need to create our own, go to our own banks, our own systems, to the point we working with each other at all times. And yes, it may cost a little more to go to an Aboriginal person or a Native person. Yes, the customer service may not be the greatest because a lack of being taught how to, give great customer service. But these are small things that we can overlook, and we can help each other grow. If you pay that little extra money to get your hair products or your nail products from an Aboriginal business owner, instead of going to the Asian owners, you pay a little money. That'll help put the money in the community, and it help keeps the money in the community, and it help it circulate to where eventually those prices probably can come down. Oh, excuse me. If you go to a sister, let her do your nails. Yeah, it may cost a little more money. Yeah, the customer service may not be the greatest, and whatever the case, but I believe it is. I believe it's good enough. If you'll put up with them talking about you, and these agents are talking about you in their language. You can tell, because I've seen, I've heard too many stories of women, talking about, they go to these nail shops and these people, they talking crazy to them. They talking with them, get them attitude, get them low service. But for some reason you stay there, and I know what it is because the price is reasonable. But I'm the type of person, I come from a place where I've seen great customer service. I'm the type of person who will pay a little extra to help my people, and a little extra to get the job done right. If the job is done right, we can work on attitude. We can work on presentation. That's nothing. But the point is, you got to give each other a chance. Now, this little town in Denton, like I say, was destroyed not by bullets, not by bombs, not by, you had your little threats with the Klan or whatever, but overall it was destroyed by the law, by people with money, people who can put their money together, have power, and can do whatever they want to people that have no power. And that's what you got to realize. If you want to have your own power, you have to create your own power. And no, it's not going to come overnight. It's going to take a while. It's going to take some time. But eventually, for your kids, your grandkids, and your kids, like everybody else, look out for their offspring and generations to come. That's what we got to do. We got to look out for today. We got to look out for tomorrow. That's how people become successful. That's why successful people stay successful. That's how they stay on top. That's how they stay putting their foot on your neck for 400 years. So you have a little town that's destroyed. They create a park, and the only thing they do now is pay respect to the people that live there. Respect will not get the land back. Respect will not give you the proper education, give you the outlets you need to financially support your family for years to come. Paying respect means nothing to me. Like I said before, you need to get to a point to where what you say or what you do doesn't bother me. Not at all. Won't have me out here marching. Like I say, got an Asian hate bill. I ain't see no Asians out there marching, protesting. Asian Lives Matter. They had money for commercials. They ain't out there in the streets stopping traffic, acting a fool, acting up, dancing, twerking for no rights. So these cats got money, these cats got influence, and things got done real quick. So if you want to get to that point, we got to work together. And I believe we can, I believe we will, and we'll get to that point. Well, with that being said, I'm going to conclude this video. Hey, I hope you learned a little lesson. I'm going to leave a link in the description below. So you can click on, I'm going to leave a couple of links so you can click on it and actually read about more in detail about this Quakertown, a freedman town that was located in Denton, like I said, 100 years ago. Same time the Tulsa massacre happened. Because you need to read this kind of history so you can see that these people, these brothers and sisters had, like I say, businesses. They had farms. They self-sufficient. Make the money outside, bring it in, and build your neighborhood up. And yes, it was like I say, taken down by a bomb project. But you know what that teaches you? That teaches you, okay, next time we do this, we're not gonna be too close to the white people. We're not gonna be too close to the Asian people. We're not gonna allow them people to come in and start businesses and take our money and take it outside. What we're gonna do is we're gonna band together wherever we're at. We're gonna band together. Now we got the internet. We can shop with each other on the internet. We can Google black businesses. We can, we can find each other and shop with each other, make spend money with each other, keep money. Everything we do, keep money together. Start homeschool. Teach homeschool with each other. Create programs with each other. We can work together, and then eventually be able to start our own little town. Move, buy, maybe might buy it. You'd be surprised, a lot of towns out here that's for sale. Get out here and buy a town and move there, and not have to worry about outside influence coming in and dictating what we do and how we take care of each other. Man, it's a process, And I love my people, and hopefully, they love each other, love me back, and we can make this thing. We can make this thing happen, and I believe we are making this thing happen right now. With contrary to popular belief, man, it's a lot of things going on behind the scenes, that we're not gonna put on social media. We're not gonna put it out there to nobody, because you got to be careful who you let in your circle, because the wrong people will destroy it, man. It'll bring it down real quick. We've seen it happen in the past, and it'll always be that way. Like I say, for every Jesus, there's a Judas. So, with that being said, like I said, I hope you learned something. Hey, man, leave a comment. Tell me what your opinion. Give me some facts. Send me some facts that you may know. About that I don't know about. Sure, I don't mind, doing a video about it, or I might even comment back on it. We can start dialogue, But yeah, like I said before, say like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, comment. Most definitely share this information with people that you know, man. This is very important history. And until next time.